Hey everybody, welcome back to Guys Night Lab. I'm Jesus, and welcome to another edition of Halloween Nights. It's Monday, October 28th, which means Halloween is right around the corner. Halloween is in a few days, and it's this week, and I hope you've enjoyed this time with me here at Guys Night Lab for Halloween Nights, and you've enjoyed some of the reviews. But with that being said, we have a few more movies to review this week, and today we're going to review one of my favorite movies, which I've probably said all month long, but it's true. It's another anthology movie, and it is a little movie called Creepshow 2. Creepshow 2 was written by Stephen King, George A. Romero, and Lucio Fletcher. And we've actually reviewed this movie on our top 80s movies. It's one of our first videos we've had. If you look at our video list, it's kind of like about 5 to 7 years ago. But I'm going to do the individual review of this movie on its own. If you've never seen Creepshow 2, it's a sequel to Creepshow. I think this one's by far the better movie than the other one. The other one's good, but I think this one's just a little more fast-paced. I think the other one might have 4 segments, and this one has 3. But let me just tell you a little bit. There might be some spoilers in here. I'll try not to spoil it as much as possible, as much as I can not spoil it, but there will be some spoilers, just a heads up. It starts with the Creepshow, kind of like the Tales from the Crypt Keeper, if you will, kind of like that. But it starts with the Creepshow Creeper, and it goes into like a cartoon, like not montage, but kind of like an intro and segments and stuff like that. So the cutaway segments are cartoonish, and the segments are in like real person or whatever. But what I loved about this is this came out like the first time I saw this movie, I was probably like anywhere between 8 to 10 years old. And there used to be a show back in the day. I've mentioned it a lot on this podcast called Friday Night Fright Night. And that's where I'd see like double features of scary movies on Friday nights. And I remember Creepshow 2 being one of the first movies that I'd ever seen. And I remember it was like probably 10 o'clock at night, or like, it was like, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. And there was a cartoon. And I'm like, what the heck is this? And it was like the segment from the intro of the intro segments. And I was like, okay, so I was hooked, and I saw the cartoon, and then the cartoon segment led to the movies, or to the segments. And so the first segment is called Old Chief Woodenhead. And that movie pretty much starts George Kennedy. He's in the Naked Gun movies. But he's kind of like in a town, and he owns a store, kind of like in like Arizona. I think it's in Arizona, Nevada area, one of those places where it's just kind of like more dirt. The town's dying. He owns like a local store where he sells, like kind of groceries and whatnot. But there's just not enough people that live there. Like the town's dying, people have left, and his wife encourages him to just kind of leave, kind of retire and stuff like that. One of his friends or people that owes him money is a Native American guy, and the Indian guy. He tells him like, hey, like we can't pay you, but here's this jewelry from our people that we want to give to you, and if we can't pay back our debt in like 2 autumns, which is like 2 years, then you get to keep the jewelry. The jewelry is revealed that's worth about $10,000. After that guy leaves, his nephew comes, the Native American nephew, and his bullies of punks come and rob the store. They end up killing George Kennedy, whose name's Ray, and his wife, and then he has like this Old Chief Woodenhead. It's like this kind of mascot statue in the front of his store, and then he comes alive and kind of takes revenge on these characters. I'll leave it at that, and you can just see what else happens. You can only imagine. But so then after that, it goes back into the cutaway segment with the cartoons, and there's this kid, and he buys like a Venus flytrap, but there's these bullies, and they're chasing him, and then they're like giving him a hard time and picking on him. And I won't spoil that again, but then it goes back into the next thing. The next segment is my favorite. It's called The Raft. And that one is just, man, it just gets right to it. It's just a bunch of college students that go to a lake, and they're on a raft. And one of the guys sees this kind of like, we call it like goop, or kind of like they think like oil spill, sewage, something. It's just like, almost like a black tarp of garbage or whatever. But it's alive, and it's like kind of like not a parasite, but it's like cannibalistic, carnivorous, whatever. So it's eating the people on the raft, and they're trying to figure out how to get away from it and escape. But like they're in the middle of the lake, and their car or the land is like, I'd say maybe, I don't want to say like half a mile, but it's pretty far away. I'd say maybe like 400 yards. That's probably a safe bet. Like, so it's like, it's not far enough where you can't swim and make it, but it's far enough where it's like you're gonna get tired. and so that but this thing's gonna get them and stuff like that. But really simplistic storyline, but it's really great. The one thing about this storyline, I never even noticed it. I never even like picked it up, obviously as a kid, and I probably watched the edited version on TV. But even when I saw it later, it just didn't even crossed my mind until I saw this movie with my friend. I'm like, oh, this movie's awesome. There is a scene in the movie like where our hero in this segment, the Raph, pretty much commits like a sexual assault, and you're just like, like now I watch, I'm like, oh yeah, that's not a good look on him, because you're kind of rooting for him and everything like that, and they're like, oh yeah, what you kind of did wasn't really right. Ugh. And so, yeah, it's just kind of, it's funny because like it just kind of glossed over. I didn't even think about it like as a kid, or even like when I saw it later, and I was like, oh yeah, that's not good. He probably shouldn't be doing that. But yeah, you'll see for yourself. So our hero in that movie, you might not be rooting for him. So you might be rooting for the group in that one. Then finally we go to the cartoon segment again. Bullies are chasing the kid, and then they cornered him, and then we go into the last segment, which is called the Hitchhiker. And this one just pretty much a lady is having like an affair on her husband, and then she's driving home late. She's tired. She's trying to find an excuse of why she's getting home late, and she hits a homeless man. I think it's a homeless man or a hitchhiker. He's like, which is crazy because he's like in the middle of the road, like freeway. And I'm just kind of like, or maybe it was the road, but he's kind of like there. I mean, she's driving a little erratic, but it was kind of crazy. Yeah. So, and so then pretty much she hits and runs him. She doesn't stay. I mean, it was pretty much an accident. Obviously, she should have stayed and she would have been fine. But she takes off, and she pretty much has seen him, the hitchhiker, chasing her, like kind of like in his decrepit body. And every time he gets closer, because it's like throughout the whole segment, like he keeps finding her, keeps chasing her, he keeps showing up somewhere, and every time he's just more decrepit and more decrepit. It's pretty awesome and crazy. But yeah, great segments. For me, I said the Raft is obviously my favorite one. Yeah, there's that little hiccup there about our little protagonist on that one. But they're all great. They have a great 80s vibe. It's not, and I don't mean like 80, like there's that campy 80s vibe, but it's more like a 80s, I don't know, like 80s simplistic is what I like. It's just something about it that's just like, oh yeah, I remember these times in the 80s, and it's, yeah. So, and then the cartoon segment, the wraparound, wraps everything up, and the bullies get their comeuppance. So, really great. Like I said, there's just something about it that just brings me back. And then the one thing I like absolutely love about this, and I probably mentioned it on the top 80 reviews, is the poster for this Creepshow 2 is the best, because I remember the theaters like back in the late 80s, early 90s, and that's exactly what the aisles look like. It's great. So I love that Creepshow 2 poster. But yeah, so anyways, I'm Jesus from Guys Night Lab, and definitely check out Creepshow 2 for these Halloween nights.